Greetings warriors, this is Kazu the Warforged. In today's video, I'm sharing with you the Tempest Talons build. Unleash apocalyptic elemental devastation with this ninja style masterpiece. We're going to be stacking the shadow arts alongside Onmyo magic for insane elemental nukes via the confusion condition, which can be applied by any 2 elemental status effects to deal massive extra damage, while also using the Talon's blistering speed and god tier mobility to zip through the air like a phantom. What starts as rapid ground slashes then evolves into a surprisingly deep aerial ballet. Mobility in the build? We got it. We're untouchable. Damage? We got that. We're cataclysmic. Bosses won't stand a chance with this build, so let's get straight into the video. Alright guys, so we are here in game. I am very excited to share this build with you guys because I've just been using the Talons and the Cesses as kind of my main weapons throughout my entire playthrough. So currently I'm level 154, I am in New Game Plus. I'm going to talk about the stats later in a little bit. But yeah, I'm just really excited because it took me forever using the Talons to really get comfortable with it and then find a playstyle that felt right and was both like fun and enjoyable to play, but also like very powerful too. And I think I found a nice middle ground between super strong and also super cool. So really excited about that. We are going to firstly show you guys the skill tree. I have all the skills unlocked here, as you can see. There are going to be skills like Beyond Affinity Fire that require a martial arts guide. If you guys are ever curious about how to unlock that skill, where the location of the skill books are, I will put a link in the description or the pinned comment below for a YouTube guide on those locations. But yeah, the Talons are a very similar weapon to the Fist. They actually share some similar moves, albeit the Talons are more focused on mobility and doing some air combo stuff. So really cool weapon, very powerful as well, and I can't wait to talk about it with you guys. So let's get right over to the skills. So for the special skills, we do have an option to replace our grapple. This is the normal grapple by default. You're going to like thrust your Talons into the foe and then rip them out, but we have Izuna Drop, so we can grapple our target, thrust them up into the air, and slam them into the ground head first, breaking their spine. This move is so satisfying to use and just so flashy and cool. I love it. I'll switch to the Talons, use it when I'm using something else in Samurai style, just so I can do Izuna Drop on the grapple. It's so much fun. Our Assassinate is just the same by default, no options there. And then our Mystic Art is going to be a passive that you unlock once you get the Way of the Ninja Veteran mission done. And we have 2 options here that are going to kind of change. They're not really going to change your playstyle, but they're going to bolster the Talons quite a bit. So the first one, Smoke and Fire, this is going to give us a damage buff whenever we perform a mist after using a martial art. And it's going to buff our next martial art that we do. The damage buff is 5 to 10% extra damage, which can be quite substantial depending on what martial art you're doing. But you're going to see here that our other Mystic Art is Glowing Ember, and that's going to allow us to recover a small amount of ki after doing a mist. And let me just show you that here. So we get actually quite substantial gains back. It's better than a ki pulse. It is enough that if we are weaving in our mists in between attacks, like we basically don't have ki or stamina problems. We very rarely do. Maybe if we guard an attack and then it breaks our ki bar, that's about the only time we're going to run out of stamina. So I love this passive. If you guys are good with your ki management and maybe running other sorts of buffs for ki, you could go with Smoke and Fire for that extra bit of damage. But Glowing Ember, really good quality of life. I love it. Now let's talk about our moves. So we have ground moves, and then we're going to have mid-air moves as well. Unlike, you know, the Samurai style, which has 50 million moves because we have 3 stances, thankfully Ninja style is a lot more simple. But there is still some depth that we can have to this. Like, I was kind of surprised at how much depth I was still able to find in using the Ninja style. And we will talk about that later on. But let's go over the ground moves. So the first thing we have is our Hode Strong Attack or Heavy Attack move. And that is going to be by default Chaotic Cleave. So this is going to allow us to slash repeatedly in relatively quick succession for as long as we have ki. It's pretty nice to use if the enemy has been broken and you can just stagger lock them in place, but it's nothing too fancy and it's nothing too special. We also have the Archer's Impact, which is the pretty much same move as it was on the Cestus, and that is going to be a hold Y that allows us to recoil back and then slam forward as though we were a bowstring, dealing a substantial amount of key damage and just damage in general. You'll notice that for the Talons, you can't really chain it like you can for the Fist. Let me show you the Fist. Like, we can chain it really fast with the Fist. Like, look how fast that was. And then for the Talons, we had to wait for a little delay before we could use Archer's Impact. Not really sure why that is. I guess they didn't want to make Archer's Impact too stable on the Talons. But it is still very good because we do have an upgrade for it. So if you unlock Tiger's Claws, which you'll get after you do veteran missions, then you will be able to have a follow-up for the Archer's Impact where you slash multiple times, up to 3 times after doing your Archer's Impact. So let me just show that to you guys. Boom, boom, boom. So it gets us a lot of distance. If you hit enemies, it'll actually break them and pull them in the direction that you're clawing. So it's actually quite consistent for damage. And a pretty good move overall. Archer's Impact is great if you ever need to like do a little back out of an enemy attack and then you slam back in to keep up your tempo. Really good move to have, and the upgrade for it is also quite nice as well. And then next up, we have our strong attack after quick attack combo chain and quick attack after strong attack combo chain moves, the first of which is going to be defaulted to Whirling Tiger. So you do your light attacks, and then whenever you press strong attack, boom, we go for the Whirling Tiger. It is by far and away one of my favorite moves for ninja weapons. It's a unique move that's not part of the Cestus whatsoever, and it is basically like the Captain Levi attack on Titan, spinning on the Titan attack. It's super good. It does a lot of damage, especially if you can hit enemies in the back. But even if you can't, even if you're just attacking them from the front, it does a lot of key damage or guard break. So it is just honestly your bread and butter. I will use it consistently, but you will notice that that attack is quite long, and during the actual animation we can't do anything. I'm mashing the miss button. Like, we have to wait a little while after we finish the attack to do a miss, so you are very vulnerable while you're doing that attack. We do have some cancels for it. We'll talk about that in a sec. We'll talk about the more complicated stuff, but let's go over the move still. So our quick attack after strong attack is going to be defaulted to miss slash here. But it's not defaulted. You do have to unlock the skill. But basically, you do your strong attack, and then you do light attack. And it's a fade. It gets you a nice bit of distance away from your target. Keeps you on the ground. Quite nice to have. And we do have an upgrade for it. The upgrade is going to be miss slash lightning. There's actually 2 upgrades for it. So the first upgrade basically allows you to, after you go back, slam forward. But with the lightning version of this, boom. Oh, come on. He died already. There's going to be a little lightning explosion when we do that punch. I think we have to actually make contact for that lightning explosion to happen. But you saw there that that was a really good bit of lightning damage. So fantastic move to apply lightning and also just deal damage. Miss slash, really great. We don't have any other options, so just use it. And then we have our Flying Fist, which is our forward input with a quick attack, or forward input with the dodge button after a normal attack. So it's exactly the same as it is with Cestus. Boom, we kick off of them, and it gets us a good distance away from the target. It does not really count as putting us in the actual air. Like, I can't double jump out of that attack. Let's see if we can cast Ninjutsu from it. Nope, he's dead. Let's try that one more time. Yeah, unfortunately we can't. We're locked up in that backflip animation, so we can't actually follow it up with anything, which is very unfortunate. And that's why I don't really use Flying Fist as much on this character. I'm gonna show you why. We have another move that is going to be a better backflip. So while dodging, we are going to be able to press the attack button, and this is going to allow us to do Dragonfly Reversal. So without the upgrade, this is what it looks like. Boom. It's basically the sunrise kick, but this is on command after a dodge, which means it's really easy to do. It's also just really fast, and this is such a great harass tool, such a great gap closer. Spam the hell out of this ability when you get it, because it's just really fun, and then also just really easy to use. It just gets you into the fight. Boom, and then you can swing in, and you could use Flying Fist afterwards to get out, but we are going to have another move that we're going to use. Boom. But yeah, let me show you the upgrade for this. So once you upgrade it, then you get Dragonfly Reversal Pierce. It is going to have a longer windup, but now it actually kicks through the enemy, allowing you to be able to get behind people. So I actually didn't talk about this yet. Maybe we'll talk about the ninja style right now. Maybe I'll save it later. I'll probably save it later. But the ninja style, you do want to hit enemies from behind. You're going to be dealing massive extra damage if you hit enemies behind. Approximately 2.5 times the damage if you're hitting them from behind. We saw like 900 there and 400 there. And then from the front, yeah, like we're doing like 200, 600 damage. Let me try that one more time. From the side maybe. Yeah, 300, 160. But from behind, we were doing massively increased damage. I mean, just look at that. From my calculations, it is 2.5 times damage. But yeah, let me show you Dragonfly Reversal. So there we were able to go right through our target, and then we were able to backstab him. So super useful to have. It works very well if you get the distance down. You have to be careful that you're kind of vulnerable in the beginning of it when you're about to wind in for the kick. You get hit a lot when you're trying to initiate the kick. Once you do the kick, it's pretty hard to actually get hit. But yeah, super good move. This is what makes the Talon so good, in my opinion, is that they're a weapon that have a lot of good tools, like really, really solid tools for getting behind enemies so that you can get that bonus ninja damage. Now, while downed, we have Sunrise. That is pretty much the same as our reversal. Not anything crazy to talk about. And then let's talk about our martial arts. So we have our hold guard button and then the light attack button. And for that, we have several options. We've got Beyond Infinity, which is exactly how it is with the Cestus weapon. I've already made a guide on how to do Beyond Infinity. Let's see if I can do it. Oh, I'm going to get a second try. I'm going to get it. Oh my god. Okay, well, I was close. I have a full guide on how to use Beyond Infinity. It is in my Immortal Fist build guide. So check that out if you want to know more about Beyond Infinity and how to do the timings for it and stuff. It's a fantastic move, but I will say on the Talons, which really only do good damage if you're attacking from behind, using Beyond Infinity is just incredibly hard and really punishing and just not really worth it. That being said, we do have a variant called Beyond Infinity Fire, which, let me show you that. Oh my god. Boom! There's a little fire explosion at the end of it. You'll notice it eats all of my ki up, and unlike Samurai Style, we don't have arts proficiency gates to be able to use this for free. So yeah, Beyond Infinity, the Beyond Infinity Fire, if you can hit this from behind in your ninja mode, like, it does a million damage. It does a lot of damage. It can melt bosses, but it's very, very hard to use because especially, you know, enemies being attacked from behind, even with their keyboard broken, they'll probably Yokai Realm before you can finish the combo on their back, and then they'll turn around and then you'll do no damage. It's very, very situational and hard to use Beyond Infinity on the Talons, but it is an option. It's not unviable. I've definitely been able to use it, but I wouldn't recommend it. And our other option is going to be spinning kicks. This is exactly how it is with the Cestus. It is a solid attack, very solid attack. Really good at doing key damage. Quite fast as well. But yeah, nothing too crazy because it's exactly how it is with fists. Let me talk about the new kid on the block, Shadow Step. So this is a Crucible art. You have to have a Crucible weapon to unlock this ability by maxing out the familiarity on that weapon. And what Shadow Art is going to do, Shadow Step, what it's going to do is going to send us flying up into the air. And if we hit a target, we can flank them. So it basically pierces. Oh, okay, well, he died from that. Let's try it against the big boy here. So we go behind him. Right behind him. And this is great, because it's another tool for us to be able to get that ninja damage from behind. Look at that. Already dead. Boom. You saw those big red numbers there. And that's why this is a fantastic tool. It also is just a really good skill to launch us into the air. It's a good, like, aerial launching attack. Yeah, that is Shadow Step. We're going to talk more about how to actually combo from Shadow Step in a second, but let's get through the moves. We're almost done, guys. We're getting through the moves. I'm trying to do this in like under fucking 30 minutes. Our next move is going to be Twirling Top. This really isn't anything special, but it just basically lets us have a motion input for our heavy attack. Alright, yeah, so for whatever reason, I have a lot of trouble using Twirling Top. I don't know why. It doesn't quite seem to work for me when I am moving left to right laterally from my opponent and then using the heavy attack button. Maybe this is a secret OP ability against humanoids. Who knows? Let me know if Twirling Top is working for you guys. I actually, for some reason, can't fucking use it. So we're not going to talk about it. We don't need it for the combos that I'm going to show you, because a lot of it's going to be aerial stuff. And then let's move on over to, if we do the guard button with a movement input, we can do Opportunist. This is same as Cestus. It is nice because it's kind of like a deflect that you can have on command, but it can only block one attack. So just like with the Cestus, not very good for blocking multi-hits. Now, we don't have deflect using the Talon, so this is really nice to have as a blocking counter, just because we don't have anything else on Talons. We can't do deflects on the ninja style. So this is good to have. Personally, I don't need it. And last but not least, for our ground attacks, we have the martial art where you hold the guard button and then you do your heavy attack. And for us, this is going to be one of two things. Defensive drop, which lets us then use Sunrise. This is the same as for the Cestus. We can press guard and then heavy attack to drop onto the ground. And then if we press heavy attack again, we'll spin up. Or if we have a movement input, then we'll kick forward. So honestly, not a bad ability. It can be used to dodge stuff too, which is pretty clutch. And it does have a counter. I will show that. This is the counter. Boom. Oh, he's dead. Alright, well, that is a defensive drop. Same as Cestus, so nothing crazy. But our new ability we have is Flying Buck. And you get this from defeating the Ninja Master. One of the Ninja Masters. He is located... I can't show the map right now. He's located in the first world zone. So you can actually get this pretty early. And this ability, you do an attack as you kick up into the air. And it gets you a nice bit of airtime. So from this attack, we can actually start doing some ninjutsu chains. It might seem unassuming, this ability at first, right? But as soon as you realize that you can cast ninjutsu in the air, this becomes a really cool move. So we don't get a whole lot of distance with that attack, and we can actually take advantage of the fact that we are right in front of our enemy by using the Fire Breath ninjutsu. Let's do that. We can combo that together. Whoops. Wow, that did a lot of damage. So we kick off, and then we Fire Breath. Kick off, Fire Breath. Even though it's a very short bit of fire, it is super fast. Oh, whoops. Just ran out of it. Alright, he died already. Wonderful. Ooh, that was a nice bit of damage. So yeah, great combo with Flying Buck is using it and then immediately casting a ninjutsu in the air. And then you can also animation cancel out from that with our Guardian Spirit move. Our Guardian Spirit, we'll cover it now actually. Our Guardian Spirit for this build is Kusanagi. This is going to be really important because Kusanagi gives us bonus aerial attack damage as well as reduced ki consumption when we jump by quite significant values, and then Heaven's Drop, which is the main ability, is going to be a dive kick. A dive kick with an AoE splash of water damage, and it is really, really good, especially for this build. So yeah, we'll talk more about that in a sec. The Flying Buck Stomp is going to be the upgraded version of this, and this is where it goes crazy because now we actually cover a huge amount of distance. And we can actually combo this into air moves. Wait, let me check. Can we combo? I don't think with Flying Buck you can combo into air moves. No, you can. Oh yeah, I mean, the default Flying Buck is honestly fine. So even before you get the upgrade, because you don't get the upgrade until a lot later, even before you get the upgrade, it is still really good. But as you can see here, this is where we can already start chaining things together. What I'm doing is using this ability to go into the air, and then I can do any sort of air attacks that I have, followed by a ninjutsu, followed by the Guardian Spirit ability, and we can start outputting crazy amounts of damage on our target. Not a really good example there, but I'll throw some gameplay up eventually. But yeah, so Flying Buck Stomp is where the build really starts to kick off with going apeshit crazy, because we can backflip out basically at any point and then start doing our air combos. So we have our Shadow Step to get us behind the target and into the air, and then we have our Flying Buck to get us out and away from our target and into the air. We got two abilities that are really good at getting us into the air, and that makes the Talons just such a great aerial weapon. And our other abilities, we have two mid-air attacks. We have the Hold Strong Attack in mid-air, and that is going to be for a brand new ability, also a Crucible art, so you have to unlock this by maxing your familiarity out. It's going to be Senju Rush. So Senju Rush is basically that first Hold Y we had, but it's in the air, and it is faster. And this thing does quite a bit of damage. It can be pretty tricky to aim because it's very low range, so keep that in mind. It'll take a while to get used to because of how low range it is. But it does a lot of damage, as you can see here. And that's without backstabbing. If you're backstabbing with this, it's crazy. Wow, that did not count as a backstab. Let's see if we can get some backstab damage here. Oh yeah, 1500 damage per proc. Whereas our default, 800 damage. Yeah, so basically double damage from behind. It's massive. This is our bread and butter in the air. Going for this attack, when we've broken the key bar of our enemy, we're going to be able to just deal tons of damage. And of course we can always do our regular kicks, and we can chain this after the regular kicks to keep us in the air. And we can also chain this into ninjutsu so that we can stay in the air for a bit longer as well. So we've got a lot of potential here with air combos, and Senju Rush is kind of the main reason why we're able to persist in the air and also deal a lot of damage in the air with just melee. Now, we also have Impact Punch. This is going to be our guard input along with the light attack button. And it is going to be just, boom, a super fast slam to the ground. It also has that little hop back as well, which is nice. I'm not doing that. It's actually part of the move. So if you ever want to get out of the air like instantly, just do the impact drop. Okay, so one thing to note for the impact drop is that it doesn't actually work after Senju Rush. It just goes into the normal attack. So what we're going to have to do, if you want to do the impact drop after doing your Senju Rush, is cast a Ninjutsu, do a quick attack, and then you can go into your impact drop. Boom, that's how we do it. I mean, just look at the options we have for aerial combat. But yeah, that's going to be all of our moves. That took me a hell of a long time to record. Hopefully I can cut that down, and it shouldn't be too much of me yapping into your guys' ears. But I do want you to understand the entire moveset for the Talon so that we can go into more detail about how to actually use these in combat. Because they're not super complicated, but the way that we can weave stuff together actually ties in together very well and is super impactful. Let's go over the rest of the build, and then we're going to go into the combos. Let's go over the stats. I'm level 154. Obviously, your stats don't have to be this high, but in terms of what you want to prioritize, I'm going to highly recommend Heart, which is going to increase our ki and ki recovery, and then our skill, which is going to affect our ninjutsu power, and that is going to really matter for the damage and the sustain of this build. When I say sustain, I mean like stamina management. We also want to have magic at 25. That is going to give us 5 different spells that we can have equipped in our Onmyo magic belt. Very useful to have. I would say a priority is to get it to 25, and then for the rest of your stats, they can be whatever the minimum is required to equip and use your gear and your accessories. So yeah, prioritize heart and strength, and then get that magic up to 25, and you should be good to go. Our clan is going to be Kakizaki. That's going to give us a damage boost to dealing ki damage, and then it's also going to give us a actual melee damage boost against winded targets. So it's very good to have pretty much for every single build, because ki damage and damage is always important, unless you're doing like a magic or a summoning build. But yeah, that's going to be our basic information. Here's our stats if you guys want to take a look at that. It doesn't really matter too much. Our damage buffs as well. Figured to just show that. Alright, so let's go over the talons here. Don't mind that I have some green items. We are going to be using Master's Talons for that extra martial art damage. But really any weapon is going to do for this build. If you can get bonus damage against enemies that are debuffed by like saturated or electrified, that's also pretty nice as well. We are using dual katana as our secondary. It doesn't really matter. You can have whatever you want for your secondary and your bow. For our armor set, I'm going to recommend the Kobodaishi's armor set. And this has the set bonus of Devout Practitioner, which basically makes it so that with 2 pieces, we get plus 100 HP, 3 pieces, plus 3% melee damage, 4 pieces, minus 25% dodge ki consumption, which is one of the most substantial percent bonuses to anything that I've seen in an armor set. And then 5 pieces gives us effect duration of plus 50. Very, very nice to have. It's not anything too crazy like it is with the Brave Demon Hunter for the Mortal Fist build, but it definitely is quite significant, these buffs. So aim for the Kobodaishi's armor set. I don't have a location for the smithing text. If anyone else does, please leave it a comment for that. I will pin that comment. It will greatly help out anyone else who's watching this video, because honestly, I was able to just acquire this set mostly through running around and killing things, and at some point I found the smithing text for it, so I was able to craft it. But I know for sure I was able to get the Kobodaishi set around the end of like the 2nd world zone, or by the time you get to the 4th world zone. And then let's look at we can look at the buffs here. You're going to definitely keep an eye out for anything dealing with ki consumption, because stamina is one of our most important lifebloods on this character. In ninja style, you don't have access to the art proficiency or ki pulses or ki fluxes, so you do have to really keep an eye on your ki. Anything you can do to get that extra ki recovery is going to be quite nice. That applies to accessories too. You can see here a Hazy Moon Flute. It's going to give us bonus ki recovery speed of 4.5%, which is actually really, really nice. And then I also have a fan, which by default usually gives some sort of ki recovery speed bonus. This is going to give us increased water damage, which is also very nice. Our Guardian Spirit, we've already covered this, but it's going to be Kusanagi for that extra aerial attack damage, ki consumption cost reduced, quick attack damage. We also get Spirit Force Charge on backstabbing. All very nice. And let's go over our magic. For this build, in our Yang position, we have the Thorned Gaki Soul Core and the Blood Edge Demon Soul Core. Thorned Gaki is just great for some base stats of plus 10 break, which means we can break enemy keyboards faster, and then strong attack key damage, so we can break enemies' keyboards faster. And then we get the Summoning Steel Thorned Gaki. I don't really use the Summoning Steel much, unless it's for Summoning Steel cancels, and we'll talk about that in a little bit when we go over the skills. But yeah, this is really solid stats. If you don't have space for 2 in the Yang position yet, then just go with the Blood Edge Demon Soul Core. This is going to give us plus 5.5% elemental damage. This is pretty much one of the few few elemental damage bonuses that we can find. A lot of equipment, for whatever reason, doesn't have like raw elemental damage bonuses. It's only specific types of elemental damage. So this applies to all types of elemental damage: fire, water, wind, and lightning. And it's very, very nice to have. Also, the Blood Edge Demon Summoning Seal is really powerful as well and super good at applying status. And its element is entirely dependent on the element of our Guardian Spirits. So if we're using Kusanagi, it's going to be a Water Blood Edge Demon that gets summoned. And then for our Soul Cores in the Yin position, which are going to be our Onmyo magic, we have the Water Talisman to apply water damage to our weapon, the Wind Familiar Talisman to have an aura that will apply wind damage. We have the Weakness Talisman, which is going to make enemies take about 25 to 30% more damage. It's very, very substantial. It might actually be above 30% damage. I forget. I did the testing a while ago and I already forget. But it was very substantial. You'll notice a huge difference in damage with Weakness Talisman. We also have the Kuroka Soul Core, giving us the Explosive Shot Talisman. This is to apply Fire Blight. You could swap this out with any other Onmyo magic that you like, but I want to be able to apply water, wind, fire, and lightning. And the lightning is going to get covered by the ninjutsu part in just a sec. We also have another Blood Edge Demon Soul Core in here for the Carnage Talisman. So the Carnage Talisman, that is going to give us a about 45% increase to our physical damage, to our melee attack power, at the cost of taking 20% more damage. And the buff only lasts for like 25 seconds. It's really substantial. 45% damage is very, very substantial. So we can use this to break and cheese the enemy keybar immediately right off the get-go from the fight. A little bit of pain to upkeep, but super worthwhile to run. Definitely worthwhile to run. Yeah, that's all of our Soul Cores that we're running. Maelstrom, Onibi, pretty self-explanatory on how to get. Kamaitachi Soul Core you can find pretty early on. All of these you can get quite early on, at least within the first World Zone, so should be no trouble there. Actually, no, the Kuroka one, you might have to wait until the second World Zone. But again, you can replace it with any sort of Elemental Shot Talisman that you want. It's just to apply Blight. Probably should have covered this when we were in the skills for the Talons, but hey, let's go over the Ninjutsu tree. Now, the basic controls, you can't actually change anything, so we don't have to worry about those. But for our Ninjutsu, you can see we have a lot of options because I've had my tree maxed out. But what I'm going to recommend is the Calamities. The Glacial and the Thundering Calamity are absolutely freaking bonkers busted. They are so freaking high damage. Of course, you only can have a total of 2 at any point in time, and they take a while to charge. But trust me, these are worth it for the damage output. Prior to that, you can use any of the Uncanny elements. So Uncanny Flame, Bubble, Bolt, Breeze. All of these are perfectly good. They will just take quite a few to actually apply status blights. So, like, you're going to have to hit an enemy maybe like 4 or 5 times with Uncanny Flame before they light on fire. It does depend on what type of enemy it is, too. Some are more or less susceptible to certain blights, whereas the Calamities are almost guaranteed to proc it. If you use both, it's guaranteed going to be a proc. But yeah, that's what I recommend for the Ninjutsu. You'll see our middle slot here. We have a very special art, and that is going to be the Shadow Stitch. So let me actually show that here, because I don't think I've talked about it yet. But Shadow Stitch is very unique in the sense that it's a kunai that freezes our enemy in place so that we can reposition behind them, backstab them. We can use it to stall so that we can heal or apply buffs. It is absolutely busted. Like, look at that. It just freezes bro in place. And it'll freeze them in place mid-air, mid-attack, mid-special. They will continue their action afterwards. Don't use this on enemies that are guarding. If you use it on enemies that are guarding, they'll still be guarding. But it's super, super good to have. Again, I'll include a list of locations for Ninjutsu in the comments or description so that you can acquire this yourself. Highly recommend, if you guys don't have this, getting the Shadow Stitch Ninjutsu, because it's freaking awesome. And yeah, that's our Ninjutsu. Let's go over... Let's go over our skills. So I'm not going to spend a super long time talking about it. There's a lot of good options for skills for this build. We're not going to be super picky about it, but I have Enduring Destruction, which is going to increase damage taken on the enemy after we burst break them. Key Sapping Follow-Up, when they have run out of key, they take additional damage from our melee attacks. Enduring Vigor is going to give us extra key on a burst break. Style Shift Flow is going to allow us to cancel attacks with our Style Shift. That is something I do want to talk about, because if you'll notice, with our Whirling Tiger, we can get stuck in that attack quite easy. I have been hit because I had to commit to this attack so many times, you know? Now, thankfully, that guy got staggered there, but I will show you, if we don't hit the stagger... Okay, well, we hit the stagger there. And then we killed him there. Okay, terrible example, but you will get hit in the middle of this animation. You can't do anything about it to end it early unless you take Style Shift, and then you can just switch to Samurai and then immediately deflag or get the fuck out. So that's one way. Another way is through Guardian Spirit. We can cancel early. And then the last way is through the Summoning Seal Crouch Cancel, which is honestly very complicated. I don't know if I want to talk about it too much in this video. It's going to have to be a separate video in and of itself later on when I talk about the certain types of techs and hidden mechanics that are in Nioh 3. But basically, we can do a Summoning Seal once we get the skill. Hold on, let me show you the skill first. If you get the skill, the more the merrier. You can cancel actions by using Summoning Seals. And then you can cancel the Summoning Seal by crouching. So that's the normal Summoning Seal, right? Oh. Why is this not working? Yeah, see? I canceled it there. So if you crouch as you're pressing your Summoning Seal button, you will cancel it. And then you can immediately chain that into other things. And you can use this as a tech to actually cancel out attacks. So that case, that worked. Yep, that worked. Oh, that time I accidentally summoned. But yeah, it is a very, very hidden tech. Don't stress out too much about that. I'll cover a video on that later. But yeah, so you don't need the more the merrier. Recommend Style Shift Flow. That's very easy to use, and you can use it to animation cancel out from your Whirling Tiger. We have Awakening. You have to have Awakening. This makes this your Onmyo magic cast faster. And then if you have the extra points, Amplification is quite nice so that your buff magic item effects are going to last longer. There are tons of other good options as well. I do think Repel Expert is really nice. Quality of life, just to increase the window of opportunity for your burst break. And there was a couple other ones that I wanted to talk about. Can't think of off the top of my head. Volitional Summoning, quite nice. Volitional Onmyo Magic, quite nice as well. But yeah, we're going to focus primarily on the Style Shift Flow, Awakening, Key Sapping, Follow-Up, and Enduring Destruction. All of these are going to boost our capability to deal damage in a fight. For the Samurai styles, these really don't matter that much because we're not going to be in Samurai. This is a ninja build. But what I would recommend is Oppressive Strength, Unshakable to reduce damage while we're attacking. Arts Proficiency Life Siphon for a little bit of sustain. Favorable Wind to increase melee damage dealt to enemies afflicted with status elements. Resilient Arts to increase our strong attack in martial arts while Arts Proficiency is active. Polished Form to reduce ki consumption. And Running Water to enable us to perform a ki pulse by dodging. Now, if you're someone who does run double-edge arts, which I do recommend on melee samurai-based builds, do be mindful that when your arts gauge is filled up, and you'll notice in the bottom right, yeah, so you can see in our bottom right here, there is a flashing white circle. That is our arts proficiency gauge being filled up completely. And in ninja mode, we actually can slowly fill up our arts proficiency. If at any point that is filled up and you have the double edge arts skill, you will be taking increased damage even on ninja mode. Even though most of the time, all of these buffs, like, they only apply to when you're in samurai stance or samurai style, for whatever reason, the double edge arts will definitely bite you in the ass even if you're in ninja mode and you have the art proficiency gauge filled. So just keep that in mind. Do not run double edge arts if you're going to do primarily a ninja build. Now, for our ninja skills, we have Shadow Art Superiority, which is going to give us increased damage dealt by our Shadow Arts Ninjutsu by 12% if we're using a weapon of the same element. So I recommend, depending on what element you have, like if you can get Elemental Talons, we are going to be using Thunderous Talons normally, because these are imbued with lightning. And if we use our lightning ninjutsu with it, it will have 12% extra damage, which is quite significant. So yeah, we could use Uncanny Boat alongside Thunderous Calamity, and we're going to get a nice bonus to damage. Additionally, we have Evasion Expert to extend the window of opportunity for evading. Rigor of the Gods to increase our elemental damage by 10%. Wrathful Dragon to increase damage received, elemental damage received after we hit an enemy with ninjutsu. And then Yokai Banisher so that we can get rid of yokai realms with Mist. So these are all really good to have. If you don't have the 6 points for Shadow Art Superiority, honestly, it's totally fine to take Ninjutsu Cultivation, which is going to increase Ninjutsu damage by 8%. That's great too. If you could have both Superior Arts Superiority and Ninjutsu Cultivation, that would be the ideal, but we only have so many points. So I go with Shadow Art Superiority. It is a little bit of extra damage, and it is going to be great for our build. But that's a breakdown of the skills. Is there any other skills I want to talk about? Let's see. Streamflow is definitely going to be one to consider taking. It is a very high use of our skill capacity, but being able to charge 85% faster is super strong. It's just your ninjutsu gauge will gradually decrease. So this is super good on boss fights. If you want to just take Streamflow for specifically boss fights or boss rushes, then this is super powerful because it'll let you charge your very, very, very powerful Calamity spells or Calamity ninjutsus much faster. Just keep in mind that your gauge is going to gradually drop once you take this, so it's a huge pain in the ass if you're just like running around doing like open world stuff and you just always have to charge up your abilities before you can use them. But Streamflow is quite good. We also have Battle Frenzy Kata, so that whenever we do a final blow or grapple, we're going to reduce defense of our enemy, but they will deal more damage. That is quite powerful as well. Reduced defense is pretty substantial. It can be like 10 to 20% more damage. But they're also going to deal that much more damage as well. So keep that in mind. Aerial Strike, very nice on this build because we do use a lot of aerial combos. Aerial Mastery, same thing. Last Stand, I've tried to use this. It doesn't seem like the actual key reduction is very significant. It's not more than like 5 to 10%, even at like no key remaining. So I wouldn't really recommend this. Perseverance is nice if you end up getting caught on guards, but just focus on evading. You're in ninja style, don't be guarding. Shadowclad, also very nice if you want to save that slot that normally would go for an Oni so core. You can use the Shadowclad to make it so that whenever you use your Shadow Arts, which are all of your elemental spells, they will coat your weapon in that element. Dreadbringer, also quite nice and quite cheap for a little bit of extra damage, but this is dependent on how many negative effects are on an enemy. So if you apply Sloth, if you apply Weakness, if you apply the Elemental Blights, if you apply Paralysis, Poison, any of that stuff, it counts. It's difficult to keep that many different things stacking at the same time. So honestly, you don't get too much of a big damage bonus from it. It's also like 3 to 5% per stack. So quite difficult to use, but it's very cheap at only 3 skill points, so that's also worth taking. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So I recommend these 5, but of course any of the other ones are also very viable as well. Of course, don't forget to go to titles and spend your prestige. This is what I have for my prestige. I'm just going to scroll through it so you guys can see. And yeah, let's go into the combos, and I'm going to show you the magic of how this build really works. Alright, so now I'm going to be showing you guys some gameplay against us fighting one of the masters in New Game Plus. So this guy is actually higher level than me. He hits like an absolute truck. He would basically one-shot me or two-shot me if he got the chance to. But we are going to be playing super hyper aggressive. So with the Onmyo magic I talked about, you want to apply your Talisman, apply your Wind Familiar. You want to have these buffs up so that you can apply elemental status effects. And once you see your enemy is glowing that pink, that very bright pink purple color, then you've applied the Confusion debuff. The Confusion debuff is going to make it so that enemies take massively increased damage. They are going to have reduced key recovery, and they are going to be in a world of hurt. How much extra damage do? You do about 90% extra damage. So it's very, very substantial here. You can see this dude's already dead, or already very close to dead, and we're going to be unrelenting. We're just going to keep on attacking this guy to break his guard and to just slam down on him. And something really great about the Talons is that you can do your quick attacks, and then you can swap off. You can do your Status Stitch, get behind the target, start popping off. You can use your calamities in conjunction with your Guardian Spirit, and you're going to be able to deal a lot of damage. Now, back in the training ground, I'm going to be showing you some of the main damage combos that I'm going to do. So if you want to just harass, you can just go for a Dragonfly Reversal and then some quick attacks, right? And at any point, if you need to get out, you can chain with your Flying Buck Stomp. That is going to get you a good amount of distance. So let's say it's an entry, we go Flying Reversal, couple attacks, and then we get out with our Flying Buck Stomp. At any point when you get out with your Flying Buck Stomp, if you see that there's an opportunity for you to attack that the enemy's not pursuing further, and that's when you go for your Ninjutsu cast, followed by a Guardian Spirit to slam back in and get back into the fight. You could also just do a ninjutsu cast and then back off. You'll still be in the air, and if you're still in the air, that means you can do an air dash. Like that. You'll still have iframes off the air dash. Air dashing is super, super nice. But of course, you can get back into the fight by doing your Guardian Spirit. So that's kind of the main combo to whittle down an enemy's key bar. Just doing quick attacks with miss is honestly pretty decent. If you at any point want to mix it up, you get a window, you throw in your Whirling Tiger, or you can do a Flying Fist. I need an actual live target to do that. Right, so you have pretty good options. You also have Archer's Impact. This is actually a pretty good gap closer because of how far you travel with your Archer's Impact. And it is very fast as well. So, plenty of ways to get into the fight. And again, best way to get out is going to be your Flying Bug Stop. Against large opponents, I am going to recommend using your Shadow Step so that you can get behind them. Shadow Step to get behind them or up into their face, and then following that up with a Senju Rush. Right? Boom. And let's talk about our options once we're actually in the air, right? So, just by default, if we jump into the air, if we do light attack, we can do these kicks. These nice kicks, sweeping kicks. And we can actually do a lot of them before we hit the ground. Like, this is me just spamming. We can do 8 kicks before we hit the ground. That's how crazy Aerial is on Ninja mode. Just spamming kicks. But of course, we have a lot more than that. So if we do heavy attack, we do a nice ground slam. That's a finisher. It is a little bit slow. And it does have some recovery, so you can get hit in this. You can animation cancel out with Guardian Spirit, like that, to minimize how much downtime there is. But of course, you can also do our Impact Drop. Boom, look how fast that is. And then, of course, we have Senju Rush. We can still follow it up with some kicks and normal finisher, or we can follow it up with some kicks and our Impact Drop. And at any point in between those moves, we can cast Ninjutsu. That works for the Senju Rush or our kicks. Now, you'll notice that in the air, our recovery isn't that bad. But it is noticeable, right? Like, just a little bit. We're going to fall quite a bit before we can actually do our next melee attack. And so that's why, instead of doing melee attacks, following it up with your Guardian Spirit is a really good way to stay aggressive. Especially once you get to the late game and you have a ton of Spirit Force, like, do not hesitate to use and abuse your Guardian Spirit ability. That's our kick. Of course, we could also do the other one where we summon our Guardian Spirit as well. Does that work in the air? Let's find out. That does not work in the air. Wow, that is so fast. For whatever reason, we actually don't need to animation cancel with calamities in the air. I mean, look how fast that is. If you're on the ground and use a calamity, however, you're gonna notice this is I'm spamming the dodge button. There is a little bit of a recovery for that. So what I like to do is as soon as the lightning comes out, I'm using my Guardian Spirit. If I'm on the ground, I'm definitely going to go for the animation cancel with the Guardian Spirit. I mean, this guy's going to just die from the first bit. Oh, and actually, yeah, that reminds me.
this move for the Guardian Spirit can actually keep us in the air. Oops. So our dive kick doesn't seem that crazy, right, by itself? But the thing is that if we hit an enemy, we actually kick off of them and we stay afloat. So you see that I'm in the air off of that. I'm not on the ground. So that can extend our air time. We can basically be in the air, we kick off, and then we stay in the air. That's a really big mechanic that I almost forgot to talk about. Boom. So we kick off, and we can still go into our Senju rush afterwards. We can kick off, we can do our kicks, and then we can do an impact drop. There's lots of different options for getting into the air via our shadow step, just jumping normal, our dive back from flying buck. That's already 3 options, and then of course on top of that we have our Guardian Spirit. So Kusanagi really fits into the playstyle here. It actually makes a substantial difference. Let's check Nekomata, because I do also love Nekomata. I don't think we can follow up Nekomata, but we're going to try. Maybe we can do Ninjutsu off Nekomata. No, we can't. Yeah, Nekomata's unfortunately doesn't function like our Flying Buck. So yeah, just go with Kusanagi, and not the winged one, just the regular one. You guys are seeing how our game plan is coming together, though. Just light harass. Light harass. As soon as enemy QR breaks, that's where we go in for our big combo. Sweep up. And then we start chunking into their face. Cast some spells on them. Kick into them. Cast shadow shit. Cast shadow stitch. Not shadow shit. Currently 12 a.m. for me right now. It's getting a little late. But yeah, that is basically how this build functions. Is there anything else I need to explain? I think that just about covers it. For our Onmyo magic, you're going to see our buffs are going to be the Water Talisman, so that we deal water damage on our attacks. The Wind Familiar, if we're staying right on top of our enemy, we're going to be constantly applying wind damage, which will wind blight our enemies. We've got our Explosive Shot Talisman to apply Fire Blight, Carnage for extra damage, and then Weakness Talisman. Weakness Talisman is a huge boost to our damage. Let me just showcase that to you guys. I'm going to wait for this to run out. Well, actually, it doesn't matter. Oh, wow, that was a lot of damage. So 365, yeah, 365 on a hit. 438. 438. So if we do the math there, that is 20% more damage. Okay, it wasn't as much as I thought. But still 20% more damage is very substantial. It's the equivalent of a Power Talisman, and that's really good because the Power Talisman does not stack with the Carnage Talisman. Normally, if you want to get stacking damage buffs, you have to use Carnage or Power Talisman alongside the Last Stand Talisman. And you will get a massive boost of damage, but you'll also be basically one-shotted by everything in the game if you're running the Last Stand Talisman. So, pretty damn good. If we're increasing our damage by 45-ish% of Carnage, and if we are buffing our damage by 45% with Carnage Talisman, and then debuffing enemies' defense by about 20% with our Weakness Talisman, I mean, we're getting a massive boost to damage. Alright, so we have level 10 Talons. They aren't going to be doing a whole lot of damage by themselves, but if we play smart and we abuse this elemental damage that we have in the build, we're really going to be able to pop off. So just to show you guys, yeah, like I'm not doing jack shit. Ninjutsu, Not doing a whole lot either. We are going to be able to apply Lightning Blight there. And then we're going to do this to apply Fire Blight. And now, just hit him with that. Boom, dead. Easy peasy. That's all it took. As soon as we put Confusion on, froze them with our Shadow Stitcher, and then we went behind them, topped off with a Whirling Tiger, did a standing Lightning Calamity, and animation canceled that with the Guardian Spirit, because if you do any of the Calamity spells on land, they do have a long recovery. So that was our combo, our ground combo, because this is unfortunately not really a super large target, so our air combo is not going to work quite as well, but I will showcase the air combo too. Alright, so we applied our Lightning Blight. We're going to apply our Fire Blight. Boom, he is crippled. And there we go. We did a little bit of air combo there. So sometimes it's easier for me to get in, especially if it's a smaller target, if I use my Guardian Spirit ability, because we'll kick off from their body from behind. If we do our Senju, not our Senju Rush, if we do our Shadow Step, that might put us too high compared to the Gaki. And then if I do this attack, it's just going to hit. It's going to whiff. So yeah, it really depends on the size of your target. Thankfully, a lot of the yokai are much bigger, and so Shadow Step is really good at just getting into their face. But at least against these big Gaki, it's not going to do too much. We can just do like a regular jump into our Senju Rush as well. We can let ourselves drop a little bit. Oh my god, even that's too high. We'll damage buff ourselves a little bit. That was not bad. It does kind of work, but yeah, this is a terrible target to test it on. I'll show you guys some footage of us using it against larger opponents because it is very powerful, especially against like the gigantic Gaki. Like, yeah, we're gonna pop off using our claw attacks. All right, and yeah, that's pretty much how the Tempest Talons work. As you can tell, we've got a lot of ways to get us into the air, a lot of options once we're in the air, and air combos that we can do that really make this quite a lot of fun. And yeah, I hope you guys try it out. Let me know what your thoughts are. Let me know if the build works for you, or if you have your own thoughts or comments or improvements for the build. It is always greatly appreciated. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. I think I'm probably gonna make another like utility-based video, maybe on hidden tech to use in Nioh 3, maybe on some of the other hidden mechanics. But after that, maybe I'll work on another build guide, either for the spear or for the dual swords. One of those weapons that I enjoy using a lot. And yeah, there will be plenty more Nioh 3 content to come, so please like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification button so you know that when I make the next video. I do a lot of video game content in general. I still am working on a little Fallout series, which has been a lot of fun as well. But anyhow, that's enough talking for me today. I'm going to leave you guys to enjoy your Nioh 3 in peace, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye!